Hello everybody. So today we are going to look at certain types of molecules that show up in biology and in living things. We've talked about water, we discussed cohesion and adhesion and surface tension, but now we're going to look at some more complex molecules, and the three that we're going to look at will be sugar, starch, which we've discussed with the dialysis tubing. We call it, instead of sugar, we call it glucose, starch, and we're going to introduce a new one, which is going to be fats or lipids or oils. They're kind of like the greasy ones, the greasy molecules. So we're going to take a look at those, and the way that I introduce this is I say that, you're the student, you're kind of lazy over the summer, and you waited until you realized, well, I need to make some money. So you looked at the local paper in the employment section, and there was only one job available with your expertise, and it was food taster for the king and queen of, and for us it's Norwich, but wherever town you're from. So you got the food taster for king and queen of Norwich, and all you have to do is show up to the king and queen's house, and you have to make sure that the king does not eat, the king doesn't eat, shoot, I gotta look it up, hang tight. Got it. So this is what the king cannot eat. The king cannot eat starch. So we have to check our foods for starch so the king doesn't eat those because it will kill him instantly. And then the queen cannot eat sugar and fats mixed together. So we have to test for those. We'll see what foods they're allowed to eat, and then we can serve those foods to the king and queen. And it is in our best interest to keep them alive so we can continually get paid, so we can have some money at the end of the summer. So what I've done is I've picked certain foods on purpose for this activity. I want something that's basic. I don't want something that has lots of different components to it, because then it becomes difficult. So the stuff that I brought in, I'm just gonna read them off, look at them at the paper. I've got a cracker, I've got a cookie, a Pepperidge Farm goldfish, an M&M, a marshmallow, it's disgusting, it's just a meat stick, Cheerio, ham, popcorn, noodle, and an apple. The first test, we know it already, how to test for starch, and that's just going to be our iodine test. We just take a drop of iodine, we put that on the food item, and if it changes to purple-black, we know it has some starch in it. That's a true scientific test. The next two, not so scientific, but it's in the interest of time to try to get this lab completed within a reasonable hour. We could do a sugar test where we take the food item, put it into a test tube with Benedict's solution and heat it, but we're not doing that. Instead, we're gonna use the old sugar taster, which is your tongue. So we're just gonna eat the food, and we're gonna eat the food that is not covered in iodine, please. And if you taste something sweet, we will say that has sugar in it. Again, not super scientific, but that's fine for what we're dealing with here. And the last one, the test for fats and oils, also not scientific at all. With that one, you've noticed this before. If you've ever had leftovers from some type of restaurant, or if you went to McDonald's and some of your fries spilled to the bottom of the bag, you see that the bag changes color. It almost like becomes glistening, and sometimes it seems like you don't even see through it. And that's the fats and oils coming off of your food. So we'll do the same thing by leaving our food on a white sheet of paper, and we're just gonna monitor it and see if it gets that oily shine to it. And that will be our fats test. We'll put it into a chart, and we'll see what we can feed our king and queen of the town. It just smells like smoked sausage down here from that stuff. So the results. When I look at the results, the patterns that I want the students to see is that in general, we're going to have the greasiest things, the stuff that really shows a grease mark, comes from animal products. Because animals deal with storing their energy in the form of fats, typically. You're not seeing fats show up in plant products like you do in animal products. So I want the students to kind of get that idea. Stored energy is more fats with animals. And then on the other side, plants store their energy in starches. Those are the general trends that we see. One of the interesting ones is the apple. The apple does not show a positive starch test because the apple really isn't meant to be stored food for the plant. The apple is meant to be eaten by an animal, and being a sugary type of thing makes it more appealing, easier to digest for the animal. So you're going to see that that part of the plant is going to be a negative starch test in general because it's meant for an animal to eat. It did show us a positive fat test, but it's not fat. That's just the moisture from the apple going on that piece of paper. If you let that paper dry out a little bit, you'll see that that stain disappears, but the greasy stains remain. Another interesting one is the marshmallow. Why is the marshmallow a positive test if it's just sugar? Why is the M&M a positive test because if it's just sugar? They coat those things in starch so they don't stick as much. But the majority of those sweet products are sugar. They're just dusted in starch to prevent them from sticking. So I do think it's a pretty neat, interesting way of looking at what types of molecules are out there and the general trend that plants store their energy in starches, animals store their energy in fats in general. So that's the overall idea that I want the students to get. And again, it's nice to be able to have a snack or a reason to eat during class as well. All right, I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed that activity. Hope you learned a little bit. I do have the lab linked in the description below to modify it to whatever foods you want to put in there. And like I said, the students enjoy it, and I always try to tie in a little story, put some meaning behind, why are you testing foods? Instead of just saying, test these foods, make it into a game, make it into a story. You're trying to have a summer job to save up some money, and you're working for the king and queen of your town. So I hope you like that. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.